right, welcome everyone, one and all. I am joined by a special guest here with Matt. You've seen him on the YouTubes every so often. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thanks. It's been a minute since I've posted a video because I've been on a bit of a break with a lot of stuff going on, but I had a blast playing in Vegas and I've refound my spark with Riftbound, so I'm super excited to be talking about the Unleashed cards that have been revealed so far today. So things are going really well on my side. I'm very jet lagged because I only just got back from America recently, but we're doing our best to get over it.
Yeah, and that was really cool to be able to connect because we have worked together in the past. I've casted tournaments that you've ran and things like that. So we've been able to connect. And so to be able to actually meet in Vegas and be able to actually put a name to the face a little bit more was pretty awesome. And being able to see, the team together and stuff, that was just so cool.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant because our group entirely met over Discord through the online scene, and that's how we decided our Airbnb. We've obviously worked together once or twice, and a lot of people, when I started talking to them, like, "Oh, I recognize your voice," and it's like, "Oh yeah, because I don't sound like anybody else here." That's why I stand out. But it was amazing to meet everybody in Vegas. Had a blast.
Yeah, so that was really great, and now we wanted to work together again, get the gang back together in a little sense, and go over some legends, because, guys, we are almost halfway done with Unleashed being revealed so far. Matt was telling me before this, we're just a little over 100 cards revealed, and there's a lot of exciting stuff here.
Oh, absolutely. There's quite a few things that I'm super excited to try. And I know quite a few people are currently dooming over Chaos Region at the moment. Every time they get a card that looks remotely good, it's like, why are they getting more stuff? But I do think there's a little bit of room in here to enjoy some of the non-Chaos things as well as the cool Chaos cards that we have seen. So I'm super excited to dive into this.
Yeah, and then again, the legends actually look pretty solid. There's nothing like, super broken in this case or just way overpowered. I really like, also, we'll be diving into like what the XP is looking like and things like that. But all in all, a lot of these legends are looking unique, but bring a lot to the game.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I actually think the legends in this set are toned down quite a bit. And I think that's a good thing in the long run. I think the legends being too impactful ends up cannibalizing the other legends of the same color combination. So it's like, why would I ever play Rumble when I can play Kai'Sa? And if Kai'Sa was more in line with Rumble, make more of a meaningful choice. And the choice generally comes down to chosen champion, signature spell, and legend. That is kind of one of the defining factors. Otherwise, you could just play the same cards in anything. So I think reining in a little bit of the legend power where you don't have to draw it is probably a good thing for the long run. So it means that you get more variety and it makes it possible to try out the different legends without feeling like you're at a disadvantage for playing a legend that doesn't just say draw a card whenever you do the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the nice part about this too is that we do get a wider range, and there is a unique aspect with it being on the League of Legends domain, in the fact that there are so many of us who are fans and have played League of Legends, and now we get to see these legends coming into the game, and there's almost a good hype around that in and of itself. We know that I was looking forward to Ashe a lot. A lot of people were looking forward for Poppy, and then even getting some surprises like Jhin, for example, is something that can just ignite that fire into this new meta.
But they put Jhin in set 3. It's like, why? Why? There was literally set 4 right there. It's already been announced. You could have put him in Vendetta.
Yep.
He looks like the guy from V for Vendetta. It would have made perfect sense. But Jhin will sell booster packs just simply by the fact that he's one of the most popular champions ever created by Riot Games, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So yeah, super excited to see how that works out.
Yep, so with that being said, we are going to be going all 12 of the legends of this set, some cards associated with them as far as at least they've been revealed, and we'll see what's being brought. We're still, of course, waiting on like the Poppy Champion unit, so unfortunately, we can't be talking about that just yet, but we'll at least go over the legends and those cards. So without any further ado, here we go into the set. We are going to be starting off with a Jhin. We started talking about him already. Very powerful unit. We're going to be seeing it the same as Kai'Sa colors, red-blue here, with the ability that when you play a spell, if you spend 4 or more, you may banish it. Then, if there are 4 spells banished with me, put each in the trash, channel 4 runes, and draw 1. So, Matt, what are we thinking here?
It's difficult. I'm kind of initially, based on what I've seen, I'm a bit disappointed with this ability because 4 is a huge number in this game. In terms of like the amount of resources that you're spending on a non-unit in order to get the triggers, and then you need to do that 4 times. So it's like 16 energy you're investing into activating this once. It feels... I think the general idea for it is that you're gonna get your runes ready and you're gonna draw a card immediately. So it's like the turn that this triggers, you're generally looking to end the game with something like Time Warp. But when you compare this to Kai'Sa, Kai'Sa's getting that value immediately. So if you save 4 power cost over 4 turns, you've already gained the extra value effectively that you'd get from Jhin. Well, not the energy, but at least the power side of it. So it's like, it's a really cool ability, but the way we'd want to play that many spells would be with spell discounts. So something that would make spells cheaper. If it was like play 4 spells, this would be absolutely busted. This would be the best legend ever printed. So I can understand, and it's on favor with 4, but I'm concerned that you need to spend too much on not developing units in order to get the trigger for this. I'm quite sad because I love Jhin. Jhin is one of my favorite champions from League of Legends.
Yeah, and one thing that I do think that might help with this is that it does say that if you spend 4 or more. So I really think that the repeat aspect of spells are going to be coming into this in a very big aspect. We have Frigid Touch. We have that new draw spell that is a part of this set too, where you can draw 2 for 4, things like that. And I think that might be the direction that Jhin is going to need to go, in the fact of, let's move into mitigating as much power cost as we can, so we at least can capitalize on the 4 runes. Otherwise, it's like, all right, well, I played Void Seeker, it leveled out. Okay, cool. So we've spent 4, we've gotten 4. We're at the same point.
I mean, that might in itself be good enough, right? If you are playing more of an aggressive strategy as opposed to a late game spell-based strategy, because you've got Kai'Sa to do that already. If you're aggressively spending power to gain a ton of advantage, and then Jhin refreshes all of that when he reloads you, you've already gained a massive tempo advantage on the basis that you've played better cards than your opponent because you've spent power on them. So there could definitely be some value in playing a more aggressive style. But then, of course, you're starting to slip into Rumple's territory in this color combination. So it'll be interesting because there's 2 different ways you could go about this. And part of it's going to be spending 4 on a spell means that you need to play very cheap units, I think, in order to make this work.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've seen with Kai'Sa. Now, luckily, on the plus side, we do have a couple of, cheap units to be able to utilize here. First and foremost, Jhin, the champion unit here. I really like the idea of this spell, or of this champion, sorry, where it says that if you've spent 4 or more to play a spell this turn, just recycle a rune, and then you can play out Jhin at a 4 might.
Jhin Meticulous Killer is absolutely cracked. I think this is a fantastic card, and it's going to see play across so many different blue decks. You could easily play it in like Prison Victor just to suddenly start putting might on the field. We'll probably see it in LeBlanc. I think basically anything blue that's playing big spells, which is generally what blue wants to do. This card is great. It's Nocturne that doesn't get stuck in your hand. Except we don't have ganking, we've got vision. I think this is great, especially from the champ zone, being able to just slot down a unit on the turn that you remove your opponent's big thing with, say, Piercing Light, kill your 2-drop, kill your Draven, play Jhin. Feels like a pretty good turn, if you ask me.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be taking a look at that momentum that you're able to gain there, and that was kind of our biggest complaint, where we're like, oh yeah, you can't necessarily build up the board state at the same time that you're able to play out these big spells, and this really helps mitigate it. It feels like this is definitely going to be a 3 of, might even be the one to put in the champion zone, just so you have that early game guarantee of, I've played out a 4-cost spell, cool, let's get Jhin in, now I'm balanced out and ready to go full aggression.
Yeah, I think all of the best chosen champions in the game, for all the viable ones, have been champions that do not have a power cost. And we've seen this with Kai'Sa Survivor, we've seen this with Draven, with Teemo even. Not having a power cost on your chosen champion is such a huge advantage. Now this, you can just pay for a power, and okay, you've got a power cost on it, but you've not spent energy for a 4 might unit that also lets you peek at the top card and start working on your filtering. So I think Jhin Meticulous Killer is one that people are going to want to pick up early. I think this is going to be good as long as they keep printing blue cards. And I imagine that's going to happen for quite a long time. So for the rest of the format, I think this is one that you keep for all of your blue decks.
Yeah, and I kind of like the point that you made with that, where this very well might be almost like that Kai'Sa caliber type thing, where Kai'Sa, if you're running red, normally you're at least going to run a couple just because the immediate ability to accelerate out and potentially win a combat, get a point, draw a card. Now, of course, this isn't at as much of a caliber, but still just being able to recycle a power alone to be able to get this unit out is incredibly valuable in this more so aggressive format.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of what they're pushing us towards on Jhin, is that you are not supposed to be looking at a lot of late game allies and going over the top with things like Thousand Tail Watcher. I think we're supposed to be aggressively spending power and big spells to keep our opponents off balance whilst we do stuff with Jhin just running around the map and doing some cool stuff capping for us. I think this is an excellent chosen champion and a great card.
Yeah, I think so too. And then Curtain Call, kind of a unique spell here. It is a signature spell, has repeat, so it's a 4 cost, of course, why not? And then on top of that, repeat for 1, then a power, then 1 and a power, and you're able to choose 1 each time. So kind of an interesting aspect to this card, but a lot can be done. The only problem I have with it is there's a lot of ways to defy it.
Yeah, and this is kind of what the problem with Jhin in general is if you're playing 4-cost spells, you are a massive defy risk, and if you add these additional costs on to gain these additional effects, defy doesn't care about that because you're not actually adding these power costs to the energy costs to the card's initial casting. So you end up paying all these additional costs, which in this case would be, if you want to use all of the effects, we're paying 6 and 2 power, which is 8, or 4 and 4. And if they go ahead and defy that, it's so horrific for you. Mm-hmm. And it's also, my other pet peeve with this is it's not an action. So we kind of have to just cast it before we do anything. But on the positive sides, having a large number of options that we can choose is really good. It replaces itself. We get to shoot a unit at a battlefield. We can deal unit damage to units at base. And we can also basically smokescreen with this. Mm-hmm. And it also counts towards our legend trigger. So I do think Curtain Calls, it's hard because it's things like Primal Strength is probably the most value you'd get out of Defy in the Origins format. And this kind of feels like it's in the same problem box, where it's like, if you actually want to get value out of this, you're probably not doing it against green.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. It'll be interesting to see how all the deck tech and deck lists ends up coming out as we get further into this. You know, because I know we have an online community that is going to be head over heels for Jhin in general, and just being able to build these decks as they are revealed. That's just how our online community is. So it'll be interesting to see. But Jhin, I'm a fan of, and I'm curious to see what's going to be coming next. But next on the docket is going to be Rengar. Now, of course, this is going to be red and orange. He's a Pride Stalker. And also being able to say that we have, when you play a unit, give a unit +1 might this turn.
So initially when I saw this, I was kind of disappointed, and I was like, oh, okay, that legend ability is just not very good. But we are in a powerful color combination, as we've seen with Lucian. Of course, I'm going to brag a bit about Lucian because that was a deck I played in Vegas.
Yep.
But this is actually really cool. We'll talk a bit about the Chosen Champions, because both of the Chosen Champions you can play with Rengar are great. But the key thing with this ability is when you play a unit, give a unit +1. It doesn't have to be the unit you played. So if you're playing on curve, your 2-drop, and then you play a 3-drop pre-combat, you can just run your 2-cost guy in with the +1 might, which can tip the scale in your favor. If we're playing hidden units, I'm trying to remember the orange
ambush
one.
As well, and stuff like that.
Ambush as well, yeah. Like Packer Cub. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, we can just play the Packer Cub, and we've got 4 might defender for 1 power in this situation.
Oh, good.
So there's definitely some interest with this, and especially with some of the ambush cards, which we'll talk about. I got to be careful not to just overtalk you and just say everything, because I've been frothing at the mouth over this. But I was initially not happy with this card, but I actually think it's better than my first impression.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you there, especially because one of my favorite things. It's like, okay, cool. If we are having to sacrifice, potentially a lot of might with an ambush ability, and it's like, cool, well, now we get to add +1 might even on top of that. And so it's like, adding in 6, and then it's like, okay, maybe I can deal with that, and then boom, it's 7. Even just that 1 might, we see how close these exchanges are on these showdowns. And it's like, if we can swing just that one little bit, that can make a huge difference. Not only that, it also makes the low-cost cards that you might have mid to late game, those low-cost units, all the better, because it's giving them at least that little bit more of a purpose of, okay, let's at least pump up one of our ready units with a somewhat dead card in our hand, but at least now it can provide that purpose.
Yeah, and it can basically all your small guys become little pump spells for whatever you have in play. Like, I'm thinking of with Ferris Forerunner, when it dies, you play 2 free freeze, and then you go give a unit +2 might. And it's like, okay, that seems okay. There's definitely room to play around. You play first mate, get +1 might, and then move that unit immediately. There's a lot of impact, and as you said, it can 1 might will score a point. So it's these minor stat changes, especially not once per turn, it can mount up.
Yeah, and the one problem that I think I have with this color combination in particular, though, is that it can fall a little bit to card draw. And you're going to be hoping for the top decks of what you're able to do, because there's just not going to be much of digging into your deck, especially with what is compared to other colors. And that's where I'm a little bit worried that this color might start falling short.
Potentially, although there is a very powerful unit that hasn't seen a lot of play because of purple, Doombreaker from set 2, which is if you have 2 or less cards in your hand, it comes in ready. When I hold, draw 2, and you can play that with the Skyfall. We are in Skyfall colors, and anytime that you can score multiple points with Trinity Force, can definitely start digging. We also have, I'm trying to remember the name of the card, Show of Strength, which both of our cats in combat can trigger. So we can start getting additional draws from that. So we of course, with the +1 that we get from our legend ability, it means Show of Strength is more, might allow you to get more +5 units for card draw. Our card draw isn't the best, but we do have access to the best gear in the game by a long shot. With the exception of Spinning Axe, but that's a signature spell. And we do get access to really cool pump spells like Punch First. So you're right, card draw is an issue, but I don't think it's unfixable in this deck.
Yeah. And so we'll see, but this is one that I definitely want to try. I love the idea of ambushing in and surprising your opponents, being able to potentially go wide and play out with this deck. I still don't necessarily know where it's going to be fitting into this meta, but I'm definitely excited to find out.
Yeah, and in terms for me, which I think is the better chosen champion, I think Rengar Pouncing, being able to threaten every time I move in, +5, well, +6 because of my legend ability on the attack. It's like that Punch First is very visible in your opponent's face, just sitting in your champ zone. So I think Pouncing is great, and I really like Rengar Trophy Hunter for being a mini Dead Bloom. I think this is the one that you play in your main deck, and I think Rengar Pouncing is the one you stick in your champ zone.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
No, I can definitely see that. And I do like the orange Rengar, the Trophy Hunter here, because I can be played to a battlefield where there are enemy units. So it's just like, oh, by the way, hey, I'm here. And especially even if your opponent isn't necessarily anticipating that. They're only down to, 4 might into a battlefield, and they're tapped out. Okay, cool. Thanks for the free point. I'm happy to pay the 5 and a power for that.
Yeah, it's like 7 might out of nowhere, because your legend just can pump this up. Yep. Although I do find it quite ironic that the hunter doesn't have the hunt keyword.
Yeah.
But it's already a really good card. I think Rengar Trophy Hunter's cool, and I've already liked Rengar Pouncing, and I think it's a little bit of play in some of the bigger tournaments, but Rengar is one that I'm more excited than I was initially when I read it. I was like, oh, and I'm like,
there's something there. Yeah, so we'll see what is in store here. Again, also got to say, love the art of both of these champion units. Looks really good. And we'll see what is to come. But with that, that's Rengar. And going into next, Pyke. Now, I got to say, I was a little bit worried at first with Pyke. When we were doing the reveals and stuff, I said it in a video where it's like, he seemed kind of like a little bit of a letdown here, where it's like, I can pay 1, tap this, and return a friendly unit at a battlefield to its owner's hand, and I can play out a gold gear token exhausted. And it's like, is that really something worthwhile here?
Yeah, so Pyke is a bit of an interesting one, and the reason for that is you've already invested a lot of resources in getting that unit to the battlefield. Something that's really unique about Riftbound at the moment, and I think it's slowly improving with keywords like ambush, is that units in this game are really bad and removal is very, very good. So you end up in a situation where I play a unit to base, I can't move it until my next turn. So effectively I'm investing 2 turns into this unit of my total action economy. And if you kill it in base, I'm going, okay, cool, now I have to play another unit, and if it doesn't have accelerate, I have to wait another turn. So putting units that you've already managed to get into play up to a battlefield, score with back to your hand, you are sacrificing a lot, and you're only getting a gold out of this. And you're also spending energy to pick up that unit. So on first read, this is pretty bad. And people go, oh yeah, but I can replay Mind Splitter. It's like, Mind Splitter basically skips your rune generation for an entire turn. Yes, it gets to take a card out of your opponent's hand, and it's huge, but do you really want to pick that up? I want my opponent to throw the whole kitchen sink at killing it. So that's not the kind of cards I'm going to be playing with Blood Harbor Ripper. I think this is really good with the hidden units. So things like Teemo, Tina Turner or Ty Turner, Pyke Returned, where we can basically sneaky deckhand as Safari RB, who also just subscribed to your channel, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like stuff like, well, sneaky costs 4. It's basically, do I really want to pay 4 to score a point and get a gold? Not entirely sure, but being able to bounce back my cards that I spent for a power, or basically hid with a seal, feels pretty good. And gold is very, very strong. We have seen that with all the gold generation that we have access to in Ezreal when it makes its gold and then plays seals. So we do know that's good, but this is, again, it feels like another very aggressive, you want to play very low to the ground in order to get value out of this.
Yeah, and I can definitely see the argument there for that. Also, I do think that you could, I think you're exactly right on utilizing the Teemo route here, that the hidden units are going to be so much more powerful. I mean, we have the red-purple combination, so we can be running the Teemos that add +4 might. We have Pyke Returned that can be hidden and also in the back line and things like that.
Oh, just disgusting line would be play Treasure Hunter, move Treasure Hunter, then score, make a gold, play Tina Turner, sorry, Ty Turner, I keep calling him Tina Turner, swap, gold moves back with the Treasure Hunter, you can then pick up the Ty Turner, move the Treasure Hunter in, score, make a gold, and you can play Ty Turner again, and then pull back the Treasure Hunter, and then it's like, I've got infinite gold for the rest of the game. And that's like a very easy line to go with that. And then, of course, we could set our Teemo or any number of our really, really cool cards. And that's like, that would be a very easy to do turn 2 play. It's just Treasure Hunter, Ty Turner, and then you have all the tools to make +3 gold. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so I think that could be very strong. Pyke Returned, to talk specifically about this unit, I really like Backline. It's a really cool keyword that should have been on Soraka in Spirit Forged. But it lets you basically keep your important units, and once per turn when an enemy unit dies, when I'm at battlefield, play a gold gear token, exhausted. And you have red as part of your color, so Fury. We've got really, really good removal in that. So getting triggers off of this, it seems pretty reliable. And it's also no power cost, which makes it a great chosen champion.
Yeah, always a good option there. And I mean, it can even be one of those cards where even if you have it hidden and your opponent knows that it is Pyke, it can still bring a lot to the table, especially on trying to make it difficult to conquer here. And I really do like the idea of this Pyke. Now, of course, we still haven't seen the red Pyke. There could be a lot there. We haven't seen the signature spell, which could also add a lot of value to this deck. But one that I actually do like here is the battlefield that is Pyke's specialty here. That even that when a unit here is returned to a player's hand, that player may pay 1 to channel 1 rune exhausted. So not only now are you getting a gold, but you're also able to capitalize on channeling an additional rune. And that can be something that helps at least mitigate the cost a little bit more.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of cool with things. This battlefield in general, if you want to take it even beyond Pyke, it's like with retreat. We could be playing Vayne. We are in the colors where we can play Vayne. Vayne comes back to our hand, and we can channel the rune back. Although that's very, very expensive.
Mhm.
But Ripper's Bay is pretty awesome. Plus, if your opponent rebukes us, we can be like, haha, we can ramp a rune. Obviously, if we're getting rebuked, that's not a good spot to be in, but we can make runes. I think Ripper's Bay is pretty good as a one-sided battlefield for this champion. And if you get one-sided battlefields that you are the best on, that massively increases your odds of winning game one, which is ever so important when you're playing in your best of 3 matches. So the battlefield's great. Pyke Returned is a good card. I'm hoping the red Pyke is also has some really good synergy. I'm hoping the signature spells like his hook, so it gives you like a charmed like effect where you can pull them to the battlefield. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
The hard part
we'll
with
see.
the hard part with that though is Diana essentially has the hook ability. That
Oh yeah, of course.
unfortunately, because yeah, I would love that, but Diana has the signature spell of let's grab a unit and give it -2, and it's like, dang it, that would have been perfect for Pyke.
We do get to play purple Diana in this deck though, which has ambush, and every time you play a spell, it gets +2. So that could be really cool. Suddenly it's like, yeah, my hidden card comes up, my Teemo, and now I'm bringing down a Diana, and now I'm doing something else, and now I'm going to pick up my Teemo and make some gold. So yeah, I think this would be like potentially a very aggressive take on more like what we saw with Annie in set 1.
No, I can definitely agree with that, and still a lot to discover here with Pyke. We have a lot that is still to be revealed that is going to determine the power that Pyke is going to be able to utilize. He's one that I've been waiting for. I know a lot in the community have also been waiting for him too, and he could have a lot of versatility here to even bring into the meta, even just as the champion unit himself. So excited to see where this is going to go, and we'll see what other reveals we end up getting.
Yeah.
And so next, we are going to be going into Vi. And this has seemed like a couple of people are a little divisive here. You know, some not liking necessarily her being in the Enforcer uniform kind of thing. Others saying, like, her ability's okay, but not necessarily great. All in all, though, I'm just really happy that we are getting Vi as a legend unit that we can play.
Yeah, Vi is a very popular character. I'm happy to see it as Vi in set 1 was one of the best units, just being able to close games out with Ride the Wind. We are not in purple, so we will not be doing that here necessarily, but being able to take Vi, I'm trying to remember what the name of that Vi is from set 1, but the 2 cost, it can end games entirely on its own. Here, Vi Destructive. So just being able to take that as a chosen champion is already kind of an insane positive for Vi.
Yeah, and just having that guarantee where you could potentially put this in the champion zone. And I think also something that's going to be rather unique here is that we have 2 different redVis, but we have not seen yet a yellow Vi be revealed. And so we potentially could be having 3 Vis that we could utilize in the champion zone, and even switching those between games if we need to, we're more than welcome to.
Yeah, and that can be very, very strong. And you also get to play Fiora. It's not. We can play Fiora Worthy, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. Fiora Victorious in this color combination.
Oh yeah.
And if we end up readying her, she just ganks across immediately. And then if she wins that as well, you can basically get her back off of the point. Because I don't believe Vi's legend ability is once per turn, right? It's just if you win a combat with an excess of 3.
Yep.
Oh no, it's exhaust me. Okay, so it is once per turn. But being able to double score off of Fiora Victorious, you know, there might be some legs there.
No, I really like that you brought up that combo too, because it's something that's going to be rather easy to pull off, because it's like, all right, cool, you're going to have the information. The difficult part might be, of course, having enough cards and resources in the trash, but That also might be pretty easy for this color combination to try to pull off here. So really going to be curious, because I think Vi Destructive is going to be able to have a lot of versatility here. Might be the main one that we have in the champion zone. Of course, we'll see. We still also have another Vi to be revealed yet, and also the signature spell, which could also be a whole different dynamic into this game. But I really want to talk about Vi Hot-Headed here for a second. An interesting idea where it doesn't have a power cost on the initial spell or on the initial champion unit itself, but it does have a 2 and a power to double my might this turn. What are your thoughts on that?
I want to like this. It's understated, so it dies to 1/2 of a falling star, but the general idea is that you are not going to be leaving it just on its own, even though you can do, because just 2 activations of this puts you up to 12, which is going to be enough to break most bunkers. But we could be playing BF Sword and then immediately going to 14 off of 1 activation. And we do get access to Deflect. No power cost on our chosen champion. Big fan of, especially on anything that costs 4. I think power costs on 4 and 5 units are really difficult to play them competitively. But there's potential here. It's for the best that this ability wasn't at action speed, because being able to pump when the opponent attacks in, or see what your opponent's going to do before you commit to pumping, would have made this a little bit absurd. But I'm not convinced. This isn't a bad card, and I'm super interested to see when we play around with it. I'm just not convinced it's an amazing card, but it definitely fits into worth playing around with and seeing what you want, because the problem is like in this colors, we do get access to a lot of great things like Cleave or Assault or Bloodlust, but we don't get that might until we're in combat, so we can't double that. So Assault doesn't really work with this. So it's basically we're going to be looking at things like BF Sword and Long Swords to get this up. So I think Hothead is a good unit, and it's worth playing around with. It's I don't think it's something that's made me immediately go, oh yeah, I'm going to 100% be the first deck I'm playing is Vi in the next set.
Yeah, and I think that this could also be a good finisher, where if you do happen to have the runes, and again, maybe a way to accelerate out, or it's already readied in this case, that you are able to potentially end games here or just devastate boards. At the same time, though, yeah, I think you're exactly right that there just isn't quite the place to justify the 2 and a power cost to be able to double the might multiple times in a turn. That can sometimes be a pretty big sacrifice, spending 6 and 3 power to essentially get up to 24. Okay, cool. That's tough.
You've traded your whole turn. You may have taken that battlefield, but I hope it was winning you the game, versus playing Bushwhack, bringing in our Vi Destructive, pumping it up, running it in, triggering our champion ability, then ganking, which is 2 points. That wins games. Off of 1 unit can go up massively high. If you have a lot of like cycling cards, which this color combination has great access to, as we've seen in things like Rek'Sai, although Rek'Sai's Legend kind of helps with that, or we saw with Darius even. And we get things like Noxus Hopeful in these colors. So I think Vi Destructive is probably going to be the go-to chosen. But Hot-Headed, as you said, it's interesting, but it's very expensive for what it does.
Yeah, I agree. And so I still love the artwork on it. This is going to look amazing foiled. And we have the alternate art that's already revealed too. That's going to look amazing textured on top of all that. And excited to see where Vi is. And I'm more than happy that she is a legend that in this set. This is going to be a lot of fun. Now next, we got a lot of interesting stuff that we could potentially do here with Lillia. She probably has one of the most amazing signature spells that I've seen. It's one of my favorites of this set. Now, of course, Lillia is going to be green-blue, has the ability to pay 4 and tap Lillia as the legend, and it says play a 3 might sprite unit token with temporary. The ability costs 1 less for each friendly unit with temporary. I don't know how I feel about that legend, but I love all the other support that she ends up having.
So, green-blue is an excellent color combination that's has almost been there twice. Ari, very, very good legend. Access to counter spells, access to disruption, access to time warp, access to ramp. Didn't quite make it in set 1. Then we had Ornn, and Ornn I think has been like the people's champion. So many people love building the president and hasn't quite got there. This legend is really cool, and Sprite Mother was an excellent card in Origins, and being able to make ready sprites that can score immediately is very, very powerful. We basically always have access to unchecked power, which clears both battlefields, make a sprite score. And that in itself is very, very good. I don't know how... We don't have a lot of ways of getting tons of temporary allies right now to reduce this cost, but I assume that's what Lillia is going to be built around. But I think this ability is very, very powerful. I mean, we can even on our... If our opponent goes, for example, turn 1 we do something, they go sneaky deckhand because they're Aurelia or whatever it is, and we can go, cool, sprite, charge it in. That is a viable line we can play there. And free might ready accelerated unit is pretty good. I think this is pretty good ability.
Yeah, and one thing that I really like, though, is it's kind of like the victor mentality in a way, or you know, because you have that chance of having a guaranteed unit. Sometimes that is going to be costly, but if you have just a bunch of spells in hand and you have no units, but you need to make that push, at least you have that guarantee. So I think all in all, that's going to be great. But man, it's like, unless we can somehow start saving our temporaries, or maybe play, like what you said, a Sprite Mother, and then be able to play another 3-might unit with our legend or things like that, it can sometimes be a little difficult to get that down to maybe a 2 or a 1 cost, which would be extremely ideal for the board presence.
Yeah, absolutely, because temporary units keep wiping themselves off the board. We do have LeBlanc, which I believe we'll talk about a little bit later, which can help with that. But realistically, LeBlanc probably goes... If you're going to play that LeBlanc and that kind of strat, you probably want to play it in LeBlanc, which we'll definitely talk about, because I think that's a really exciting legend. But initially, with Lillia, we can also consider potentially... Do we have some kind of massive beardy control deck, which doesn't need to play a whole bunch of units, because we can just make the units like Victor, and then we can just spend the rest of the time making sure our opponent doesn't have fun. Like, that's a potential line with that legend, but I don't think you're going to do that over just doing it in Victor, which is already proven as a successful deck. But it is an option.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's the nice part, is at least we have the option. That's going to be probably one of the saving graces of this deck. I still feel like that we have a lot of power here that is yet to be explored. We're now going to have 3 sets of cards that can really make this deck something special. And on top of that, I gotta say, I love this signature spell here, because it is something that can just shut down specific decks incredibly easily. You know, of course, it is 2 and 2 power. I do like that it is 2 power. That does stop like Defies from coming in, meaning that you have to have more specialized answers to deal with this spell. Love that. Can be played at reaction, and then on top of that, it's a counter spell, and its controller can't play spells this turn. That's a game changer.
Yeah, Bren here is probably one of the most important units in the Spirit Forge format for being able to play into purple. This is a much cheaper version. I really like this because it means that we don't have to overplay too many counter spells in our deck, because one of the problems that blue-green tends to go is to go, okay, we're going to play free Defy, we're going to play free Not So Fast, and then we're going to play maybe a Wind Wall if we can. Most decks can't afford that. But you end up having to take a bunch of counter spells that aren't very wide. They're quite narrow in scope. And if you have the wrong one in your hand at the wrong time, your opponent's card is always good when they play it, and your card is sitting as a blank. If your opponent's playing spells, this stops that from its entirety. And it can stop things like Miracle decks comboing off, when it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play Cold Shot. I'm going to counter that. It's like, okay, you're not going to be able to stack deck and do a whole bunch of other stuff and then drop battering rams on me. This is a very, very good signature spell. I'm super happy to see this, and it's probably the most exciting thing about Lillia. Even though we haven't seen too much, I think this is a really good start for the champion.
Yeah, this is par for the course on making her meta relevant. The hardest part, though, is I think that she would struggle into green decks itself, because it's like, oh, by the way, here's Lifting Lullaby, and it's like, all right, cool. Well, now here's my Discipline, here's my Unguard, here's all my reaction spells that green has in the arsenal. That's where I feel like Lillia might struggle, but to the rest of the meta, this could be very helpful in making a big impact.
I mean, I would really like to force my opponent to drop all of their reaction spells and then play Rune Prison. Well, probably not with the amount of power we're spending on Lullaby, but going down bonk, It's like, cool, you've just dumped your entire Aurelia hand into this, and we just have a flat counter anything, and our opponent can't stop this with Defy or Not So Fast. So if we resolve this, we put ourselves in a good position. It doesn't stop our opponent playing quick draw gear though. So Spinning Axe, Longsword are still going to be problems for you. But yeah, this is very competitively viable.
Yeah, the hardest part too is there's that what's the new purple counter spell that we just got?
Oh, Abandon.
Abandon. I keep wanting to say awaken. But yeah, abandon might be a little bit of a problem too, where you are able to then say, yeah, by the way, lullaby goes back to hand, but you've already sacrificed those 2 runes. That's a lot of power that you're putting back into your deck, and it's like, that's rough.
It was a huge problem for RE when people originally started playing because all the good cards had power costs, and you're not in colors that generated a way to circumvent that. Like, you basically had to play seals, which took room out of your deck. And these colors, they're very susceptible to bleeding out on power costs for all of the stuff that they need to play. And this is really, really expensive on power.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the hard part. That's going to be the risk and reward. I think that still is why playing, a Defy is definitely justified in this deck to anticipate those kinds of responses. But then again, the hard part is you're getting into a lot of cards that are needed for these specialized answers, and sometimes that can just be so difficult to pull off in TCGs. But I'm still a huge fan of this, and I think that's going to be making it meta relevant. On the plus side, also really like Lillia as the champion unit here. Kind of a unique ability. Again, we're seeing a lot of these champion units not have any power cost here on them. So still to pay 5 for might, and then when you play a token unit, give me +1 this turn, and your token units have tank.
This is great. If we find a reaction way of making tokens, I really like this. And you basically get free protection off of any of your tokens. It's a shame that we can't play Vanguard Armory in this color, because then that would be really, really cool, because we just have like infinite tanks, and then we'd just be giving ourselves plus a bunch of power. But playing with the army we have, not the army we want, this is, again, no power cost, excellent chosen champion option, and tank is a very, very strong keyword. And we get to make a token as well with our legend ability, so we can throw out a free might token that has tank, and then we can push this in and attack for 8 and not risk our Lillia on the attack depending on what's going on. This is pretty solid. I would like to see us find more reliable ways to make tokens at action or reaction speed to really make this a pain to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the big deciding factor. What else is to be revealed in support in this color combination? That's going to be the big deciding factor here. Now, of course, we do have a couple of tokens that we're able to make. There's the Azir one that makes 2 Sand Soldiers with repeat for 4. That could be something cool. Potential there. That's green. So there's a lot of versatility that we could explore here.
I love that. Like, you move this out, you can play... was it Sand Soldier's Cool of I forget what it's called, the Azir card that makes the 2 tokens, and it's like, cool, they have tank, that's pretty cool. Or we can play that pre-combat and then move in with +2. That's really cool. Oh yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ideas. We're not as trapped into like the Sprite Mothers or Sprite Call as we may seem, because even just generating tokens, while that is a little bit difficult in green-blue, it would be nicer if it was yellow, but it's still in green-blue, it's at least possible, and I think that there could be some fun combos there to explore, and we still have a lot of support to be seen.
Yeah, and we already have, like, the color's almost been there, and I'm pretty sure that Riot is going to be like, okay, guys, we need a bit of a win on this color combination. We've put a lot into it. So let's see what we can do. It has to be a token unit, I just noticed. So I was thinking, oh, actually, can we get it off of gold? But apparently not. But we do get Gutter Palace, which is a really cool epic that got revealed, which is at the start of your beginning phase. If you have exactly 4 cards in hand and exactly 4 units on the battlefield, at battlefields, they don't even have to be at the same battlefields, you win the game. But it's discard 1 to play a bird token unit with deflect. So we get to effectively give ourselves +1 and get a tanking bird. And we've got an alternate win condition that our opponent has to be aware of for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So that could be really cool.
Yeah, and I think again that's the versatility that we're going to be able to explore here, and that Lillia might be able to surprise a lot of people. It might be that green blue that we've been waiting for, and we'll see what impact it makes.
Victor, Innovator, the blue Victor.
Oh yeah. That's a very
like
easy way to do it. Yeah.
It goes to base, so you can't put them to give her tank, but being able to just like suddenly get pluses for playing spells in colors where we can also be very spell heavy in this deck because we've got a legend that already gives us units. So we can go basically, yeah, that could be a way of playing this actually, along with Victor and Innovator.
Yeah, you could go Stupefy, Consult the Pass, Hidden, and and then in the meantime,
Sprite cool.
Yeah, and oh, that would be crazy. Hiding a Sprite Call, play it, get +3, add +1 to Lillia, then
Get tank.
Then also get tank. Play a Stupefy on top of that, or whatever. There's a lot that you could be doing here. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Gonna be really fun to explore.
That's actually really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take another look at Lillia because I think that could be a ton of fun.
I think so too. So with that, kind of a surprise here, kind of not. I'm really surprised that they did go the reprinting of a legend. Now, of course, I don't think this is going to be a regular occurrence here where I think the big reason was he was a Proving Grounds legend, so that might have been more of a motivation to put him into set 3. But even still, it's interesting that he's still the same color combination of green-orange, and then on top of that, he deals strictly with XP. So when you get to level 6... then your units are going to have +1 might, and then at level 11, your units enter ready.
This, I don't know how to feel about this, because the biggest problem is we haven't seen enough cards to generate EXP, and from my understanding is if you spend EXP, you would lose levels. So you need to have 6 EXP, and you have to maintain that in order to get these effects. So we're basically playing a deck that generates EXP, and then doesn't spend it. And it means our legend is effectively blank until we've scored 6. And the primary way of doing that is units with Hunt, which says, if I conquer or hold, get X amount of EXP. There are other effects and stuff that let you do it, but if we're not, in many cases, from what we know about, if we're not getting into, we get to 6 points, the game is basically over, and we've been playing with a blank champion this entire time, when we could have been playing with a Proven Grounds Master Yi, which is already obnoxiously strong. So we need this color combination to have so many ways to cheat EXP for this to be relevant. If we ever get to 11, we're just supposed to win the game. And that's like a cool thing to just have a legend that says, if you do the thing, you win the game, effectively. Because it's very hard to lose a game when all of your units have accelerate without the accelerate cost. But, yeah.
Well, and that's one thing that I'm going to be curious about. We've seen also like a battlefield that's been revealed specifically for Pyke. It would be also really interesting to see if we get a battlefield that is XP oriented, that when you conquer here, pay 1 to gain an XP, or something along those lines. I could see definitely being viable. We've seen some units where even upon entry, that you are able to generate 1 XP, ones that when they move they generate XP, that's all in the orange color and things like that. So it could be interesting, but again, it's tough. And then even like the new Master Yi champion unit, it has the ability of when you get to level 6, it costs 4 and 2 power less, so you're still going to pay 8 and a power to be able to get a 12 might Master Yi out. Very powerful, but still, in order for it to really make a major impact, you're going to be at the late game with it being at level 11, and I just don't feel like you're ever going to get to level 16.
Yeah, like if you're at level 16 and you haven't won the game, either there's a lot of very efficient ways to generate EXP in this set, or you've already won the game, because at that point we've probably already scored 8 points to get that EXP. And then it's like, after I go through all of that effort, I get a 12 might Rune Runner, which is insane. And we're also paying basically we pay Rune Runner's cost, but we have to get to level 16 first. But we're gonna have to have a bunch of ways to cheat EXP for this to be worth it, because I think even it's hard to justify playing this until level 16. It's just a very expensive please rebuke me or please kill me unit, because it has no self-protection until level 16. So we can't play it until we get there, so we have to build our entire deck around getting to level 16 and then having Master Yi hard carry first. But then it has no mobility. So we move it in, and then we have to find ways to get it around the battlefield. And I think this is just asking, from what we've seen so far, I could be wrong, it's asking too much of us to make this particular unit work.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you there. Again, we still are at a wait and see type thing. There could be a card revealed that just really surprises us and makes this very viable. At the same time, though, I just don't necessarily see that being a possibility, at least in this set. And so, again, getting to that level 16 is going to be just so difficult. And it's like, cool, well, even if you happen to get to level 11, you play this out, you finally get it to move into a battlefield, and, oh, it gets pushed back, or oh, it gets rebuked, and then it's like, well, that just really set me back because it's not at level 16 yet. That sucks, but we'll see. Still an interesting idea, and I like that they're trying to push these boundaries and explore that, but sometimes it's like, it's just not going to be there. Now, likewise, on the other side, I do like this signature spell, though. I think this is going to be a very powerful addition. A lot of people have been theorizing what this is able to do in Aurora decks. This is a 3 energy, 1 power cost that is at action speed. And it says, choose a friendly unit. It deals damage equal to its might, split among enemy units at battlefields. Then, for each unit this kills, do this, gain 1 XP.
This is excellent for a signature spell. I really like this, especially since the Proving Grounds, was it, I'm trying to remember what it was called, Highlander, was just unplayable. This is really, really strong because it's not a fight spell. You basically just get to choose your unit and then kill a bunch of stuff. And then getting multiple EXP, this makes it very good into your opponent doing multiple pushes, which seems like this set is trying to encourage with things like getting multiple hunt triggers. That starts to scale with your legend. So this is a great way to try and get to level 6 as quickly as possible. I really like this, especially if we're playing the Proving Grounds Master Yi, where they attack into us. We get our +2, and then we can just use this to kill stuff at the other battlefield, or we could potentially kill stuff at our battlefield without using challenge. I think Alpha Strike is an excellent signature card. This is really, really good.
I think this is the step that Master Yi needed to get back into the meta. We've seen kind of that falling away a little bit where people are playing Master Yi to essentially go for the metal card at regionals, or you're playing Master Yi just because he's your favorite legend. But then you take a look at Alpha Strike and it's like, okay, I can build around this. I think this is a couple of stuff. Not only that, it's like, cool, you can play Alpha Strike, then add a Discipline and Unguard and stuff on top of that to build up the amount of might that you will need, and then just, boom, the battlefield is cleared. You can move in without needing to worry about spell responses or, even worrying about going into a showdown. Really like what this design was.
Yeah, this is great card design, and it's in line with what I'd want signature spells to be in this game, because I believe the rules say even if your champion has access to 2 signature spells, you can only choose one of them to put in your deck. So you could put up to 3 copies of this or 3 copies of Highlander. And it's like, well, that's a bit of a no-brainer, really, is it? We're going to be playing free Alpha Strike.
Yep, and so, again, and we're seeing a lot of support coming in for Orange that is looking promising with the XP. Alpha Strike might be that card that takes you over the top. We'll still see what else is to be revealed, but Master Yi might be meta relevant again, and I can't wait to see what impact it can make. So
Agreed.
Looks like next we got Vex. Now this is a tough one though, because unfortunately for Vex we haven't had necessarily a whole lot revealed this set yet. Now we know the color combination, gonna be green purple, awesome. It's going to be a Glue Mist. Awesome. Cool. Whatever. And then when you or an ally hold, you may exhaust me to draw 1. And for me, that's a bit of a letdown because it's like, well, if you're holding both battlefields, you're not rewarded for that, because holding in this game is a very big risk where we are in more of an attack meta, not necessarily a hold meta. So it's like, if I am taking that risk, why can't I be rewarded for that?
We're exhausting to draw cards now? Like, where was this when Draven was being designed?
Yeah.
This legend appears, and I don't want to be disrespectful to whoever designed it or anything, terrible. Like, in terms of the free other legends you could be choosing for this color combination, we could be playing Yasuo, who gets to move a bunch of stuff around, way more than they're supposed to. Aurelia, which can single-handedly tip games with boss units being able to give them a ton of mobility. And then this is saying you have to do the hardest thing in this game and then you get a card for doing it, which is, I'm gonna guess that the green Vex and the signature spell are absolutely busted, and that's why you would want to play this legend, because purple Vex is incredible as a card, but this legend ability is, you're asking a lot of me to draw a card, and I don't like that.
That's going to be the hardest part here. And on top of that, it's like you're already going to be maybe a little bit behind in the sense of, you know, you have a couple of units that you're able to play in the early game, but there's a lot of small might units here. Now, of course, you do have green to be able to help you make up for that lost ground a little bit, but at the same time, it's like if we are running the treasure hunters and, you know, maybe the traveling merchants or however else we want to necessarily build this deck until we can start getting our Vexes out in this case, we might be just playing from a little bit behind. And then the hard part is then when we finally do manage to take and hold a battlefield, cool, well, we get a card. Okay, and that can feel a little bit lackluster. I mean, Ezreal's ability is a lot easier to get off, where it's like, okay, cool, I have a Frigid Touch, or I have a Stupefy into another spell, I have a Singularity, cool, let's have that go off tap, draw a card. Where this,
Yeah, this kind of relies on your opponent not doing anything, as opposed to being proactive like a lot of the other successful legends, which is it will basically trigger or give me advantage by me doing stuff. Even though we've got pretty good ways of cheating combats here, where we've got a lot of push in our chaos side, we've got pump spells in our green side, we can be using charm to pick off our opponent's units. It's kind of like yeah, like it's just like you're only getting a card for that, and you're jumping through hoops in order to get those holds. And you know, admittedly, maybe we're looking to play more like the green Ari to score multiple points, and we're going to be playing Spell Song so that we can score multiple points on this, and then we just play a really nasty control deck with a bunch of counter spells, Spell Song, tanking units for this, and then we just get to keep drawing interference. But this color combination has always had huge problems with Brenhir, and Brenhir is not going to stop getting played in set 3. So I just think this is going to really struggle to get you the value that other legends give you, and I'm quite disappointed by that.
Yeah, and that's going to be the hard part. Again, we are still waiting to see the signature spells, the green Vex, but even still, it's not going to necessarily be something that is going to be making as big of an impact compared to the other legends that we've already seen and have in the game for that matter. It's like, you know, again, it's like, why not then just play the Aurelia here and have the mobility needed to be able to make that impact to the game? It's like, cool, I can play a Stellacorn Herder and make up for the card difference that Vex is maybe going to guarantee me.
Yeah, because the Stellacorn Herder, you want to keep it moving. You don't want it holding in most cases. So we could just be playing Yasuo to get that value, or we could just be playing Aurelia if we want to go a bit more power hungry on it. So we'd have to build a green-purple deck that we've not seen before. Although I guess what I'll give credit to the design for this is it encourages people to explore other cards in these colors outside of hyper-mobility advantage generators. And maybe that's kind of where they're trying to pull us.
Yeah, I think so. And the hard part is of course we don't get to see where the testing took us. You know, because of course those game designers are testing these out and seeing where things are at. And you know, sometimes they are perfectly fine with creating a less powerful legend. Like we said, though, luckily they have done a good job on basically giving everyone an even playing field with these legends, it feels like. But it feels like Vex might just be struggling here, unfortunately.
Yeah, realistically, like for pretty much most of the legends we've looked at, I feel like they would have been great going into set 2 as sort of power level. And if you wanted to ramp the game up, the Spirit Forged legends are something else. Things like Rek'Sai is just so ridiculous compared to most of the stuff we've seen so far from this set, and it's almost like we've taken a step back. And this is probably, to be fair, the level of where legends should be around here, where it's like, hey, this is a cool reason to explore different cards in this color, as opposed to build your entire game strategy around me giving you some uninteractable advantage.
Yeah.
Because that's just proven to be quite painful.
Yeah, and I think Vex would have definitely been a viable legend in set 1. Whereas now
Yeah.
in set 3, it might be a little bit tossed to the wayside, unfortunately. Now, one that I am also very curious about, Ivern, that's going to be Green Yellow, the Green Father himself. Now, with that, when you conquer or hold, you may exhaust me to replace that battlefield with a brush battlefield token. And that also will mean that birds, cats, dogs, and poros and Ivern units have +1 in brush. And of course, it can be swapped when back when scored.
This is, in my opinion, hands down the strongest legend in this set. And the main reason for that is you get to change the battlefield your opponent came to play with into something that's not useful to them. And that means that we get to play things like Targon's Peak. We move in, we score it, we target our 2 runes. They're going to ready at the end of turn. We turn it to a bush. You come in and try and take it back. You score the bush, you turn it to Targon's. You didn't conquer Targon's, you conquered the brush. So you don't get the benefit from that on conquer. And it's the same with Sunken Temple. We could even be going in, doing all of our stuff with Dreaming Tree, turning the Dreaming Tree into a brush. And it's like, cool, you want to come in and play all your spells? Well, you're playing them on the brush, so you're not getting that card draw. So it lets you take advantage of something, and your opponent's probably not getting those bonuses, even if we're not playing a ton of birds, cats, dogs, or poros. Although we probably are playing the poros because the green and yellow ones are very good. I think Ivern as a very, very disruptive pick for how a lot of people do deck building, and that's why I think this one is so good.
Yeah, and I have to agree. Now, we do still even have a couple of dogs that we've seen. Haven't seen very many cats. We had one revealed so far, and a couple of birds that are in this color combination. So there is some possibilities here, and even just being able to get kind of a rumble type ability that when you are in the brush, that you do get +1. That could be something very powerful. But again, I really like taking that battlefield and saying, yeah, by the way, that's not what that is. That's actually going to benefit me. And that could be something to really give you that momentum to make that game impact where, hey, I'm playing 2 battlefields that benefit me, and you might only be playing maybe 1.
Yeah, and we haven't really had anything that can really interfere with battlefields. There's literally been some games where it's like fighting Draven on Reaver's Row is a very uphill battle. Although granted, Reaver's Row is probably one that suffers the least from things being turned to a bush. But then we've also seen on Targon's Peak, both Kai'Sa and Draven have historically been very strong on it, and basically being able, you take all the advantage from it, and then they don't get the advantage, is really, really cool. We also get access to things like our Shield Poro, our Lonely Poro. We get to play Charms. We get to bring them into the place where we get +1 on all of our units if we have a bit of a menagerie going on. This Ivern is just like, from a design perspective, massive kudos to Riot for coming up with this, because I think it gives so much insight into what might be possible with future card design.
Yeah, and I think so too. And then even on top of that, you got to be imagining just how fun they had also designing these champion units here. One, of course, I mean, both of these are kind of, or could be a little bit more utilized in the mid game more than the beginning, but that's really when you're wanting to make these impacts anyway.
Oh my god, yeah, I just saw somebody in chat mention the funniest thing I saw with Ivern is using guards on an obelisk game to ready the Sand Soldier, charge it straight in, take the battlefield, turn the obelisk into a bush, and then they don't get the rune for the obelisk. That's actually brilliant. Oh, I love that. Just so, can we get turn 1 to accelerate, just deny you the obelisk trigger?
Oh, could you imagine the rage that would be generated from someone that goes through that for the first time? That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're spending a power for it, so it's like, but it can mess with your opponent's obelisk game pretty hard, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so looking at the champion units, I really like the Friend to All. Again, no power costs for 6 might. My problem is it gets Singularity'd and Fallen Starred. That's a huge investment. But it gives you the ability to double score. I think this is a little bit memey. It's having all of these. We will need to see the rest of the set to see how easy it is to get the all the tags in play. But when we're in a bush, we get +1. But I don't like the fact that we spend so much energy on something that just dies to the most commonly played removal in many cases.
Yeah, well, and also another comment that I want to point out too. It's like also with Arena's Greatest, you could move in with the same combo and get your opponent out of a point.
Oh yeah, yeah. If we have a way to get on that point on turn 1, we can stop them claiming that point. But I don't think
that
we
would
have
have to
any
be an
kind of
Obelisk combo where they play Obelisk and you play Arena's Greatest, which is possible in this meta. This is a very popular Obelisk when going second.
This is true. Yeah, this is quite a good punish for them taking the Obelisk. But then you only get to stop them getting either the Obelisk or the Arena's Greatest trigger.
Yeah. So kind of an interesting idea, though, and definitely something fun to play around and consider. But yeah, going back to this, that's the thing. I do want to see, especially in this color combination, it's green, yellow. So it's like, yes, we have a bird, but it is, essentially that one might bird that you can channel a rune when it dies. Okay, that's fine. You have a cat, that's a 2 cost, that's a 1 might. Okay, So it's like there's a lot that you could be falling to. Bellows Breath, Falling Stars, and things like that. That even if Ivern is on the field here, you're still taking out a bunch of its resources to be able to utilize its ability here. And that I think can be where this card might start to fall short.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, again, units in this game they're just at the moment a lot worse than removal. And if you take an entire turn to turn 6 of your runes sideways to play Ivern, and then they kill it, you've lost so much momentum off of that. And that can lose you the game on the spot. Really game swing in just the space of a turn in Riftbound. And I think this kind of encourages you to get blown out, or you can't play it until you have at least 7 runes open, which means we're playing this very, very late. So this one I think this unit, while it's cool, I think it's going to struggle a bit.
Yeah, and that's going to be the hardest part. You're going to be wanting to probably play it out when you have an unguard to save it, or potentially like a not so fast or something. But there still is a lot out there that, it's like, okay, cool, you're playing this. Well, all right, I can utilize this to where you don't get that ability. That's going to be the hard part. Now, on the flip side, I do like the Nurturer here, being 5 in a power for 4 might. I don't like necessarily the 4 might, but what I do like is that when you play me or when I hold, look at the top 3 cards of your main deck. You may reveal a unit from among them and draw it, recycle the rest. Then if you revealed a bird, cat, dog, or Poro, you get to buff a friendly unit.
I mean, we don't have any search cards in our deck, so being able to just go digging for more stuff is pretty cool. The thing that holds us back is, one, that is a very low stat for this energy cost, especially a power as well. We're effectively overspending to dig 3 cards. And the buffs are kind of cool. It lets us potentially consider playing a Monastery of Hirana in our lineup, which will let us trade our buff, draw a card, then turn it to a bush so our opponent can't use it. This, I just think, is perhaps a little bit overcosted, and that stat is going to be a big problem because it gets piercing lighted as well. But I guess in the ideal situation, you've already drawn the card that you need from this, and so even if they do kill it, they're falling behind on card advantage. I guess that's the idea.
Yeah, still though, it would even be justifiable for 4 in a power. It's like paying that power to look at 3, and especially with it being a champion unit, I would be okay with it maybe being a little bit cheaper to be that much more broken when it is a champion, So in this case, though, that's going to be the hard part. We'll see what kind of impact it's able to make, but I really do like the idea, and bringing Ivern in was kind of a curveball. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, no, I had no... I didn't see that one coming, and like you said, and I think it's pretty cool, and I think its legend ability is very, very good. Apparently, a card did get spoiled whilst we were talking, the Rift Herald, which actually is in these colors. And this is pretty interesting. It's like when I move to a battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your main deck, you may reveal a unit from them, and then draw it. Recycle the rest. Death Knell, play a unit from your hand to your base, ignoring its energy cost. Oh. 8 costs, 1 power, 7 might. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there could be something.
I'm just thinking.
There.
Play a unit from your hand. Oh, you could just play a unit from your champ zone, right? Because your champ zone is treated as your hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baited hook into it as well, and then you can baited hook to sack this to go up to 8, and then get another unit straight in from your hand.
Interesting.
No.
Okay.
And it's in these colors, so we can play potentially a bit of a ramp strat here to start throwing out our giant friendly tree folks and seeing how that goes. But yeah, Ivern, excellent champion. I think it's one of the strongest legend abilities we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think so too. And it just can really strike the fear into people, especially when you start threatening certain aspects of the game with your champions on top of that. So, really excited to see what that is going to be. But speaking of exciting, Diana. This is one that is getting a lot of hype surrounding what she's able to do. People love the blue and purple combination here. And then at reaction speed, it's basically the Darius of spells where you get to add 1 energy, but you can spend that energy only during showdowns.
Yeah, Ezreal is already an incredible champion, and its legend ability pops off a couple of times in a game, and it's okay, but you have a very, very strong chosen champion. This has a great ability. Extra energy is always very, very strong, even if you can only play it during showdowns, but we're in colors that do so many tricks at reaction speed that we're very excited to see. So we also get to play things such as Scrap Heap, we have Stack Deck, we have Cold Shot, not making any assumptions that that's still going to be a thing by the time we get to that set. And then being able to get that extra energy, and we can spend that energy on everything as well. It's not just units, if there's stuff that we do during showdowns. So Diana is looking to be probably very, very popular, and also the alternate art for this is absolutely going to have a waifu tax on it for sure.
No, definitely. But and even one thing that's a big aspect, one thing that Ezreal was able to utilize so incredibly well was Vex. And now that you can run Vex into this, and then your Diana legend ability can literally pay the minimum cost for a spell that Vex is able to discount in this case, it's like, oh.
We get to play 0-cost spells with Vex the way that we always wanted to when we moved in and was like, why can't I play Stupefy for 0? Now you can!
Yep, and so with Diana, it is possible. And so that's going to be a whole different aspect to this as well that could be making a really big impact. Even with Ezreal, too, if you move into a battlefield, you go Frigid Touch, repeated. Ezreal covers one of the costs, Diana covers the secondary repeat cost, and then you're able to Frigid Touch for 4 for 2 energy. And there's stuff like that I think Diana is just going to be able to capitalize on, that is going to take her a step above what we've seen with Ezreal. And we've already seen Allen's specifically say that this is what he's hopping onto, and now he's going for 4 Diana cards.
Yeah, you just get a arguably better legend ability because it's much easier to trigger this, providing you've got things to do with it. We're losing an amazing chosen champion in Ezreal Prodigy, but we can play that in our main deck because it's in the same colors anyway. I think also the chosen champions for Diana, both of them are very, very playable. This is probably going to be one of the meta decks that people are going to have to learn to play against, because I think Diana is going to be very, very strong.
I think she's going to be shooting right to the top. It's going to be our Kai'Sa, our Draven of this set, essentially. And so I think it has the power to be absolutely devastating to the meta. And she's gotten the support on top of that. You're looking at like Diana Luinari, the other Diana that's purple, which is also just absolutely insane. And then with this signature spell on top of that, 3 in a power, action, and then when you choose a battlefield where you have units, you may move 1 enemy unit to that battlefield, then give enemy units there -2 this turn.
That is such a ridiculous signature spell for free. So you're sitting on both sides. I can drag you over and then shrink your entire board for that combat. And with our purple Diana, which is a 4-cost 1 Chaos Power 4-might unit, I believe. I think it's 4-might. It's like every time you play it, it has ambush, and then every time you play a spell, get +2. Yes. You're getting such a huge swing on that. This card is just a disgustingly good signature spell because it gives you charm in colors that shouldn't have access to it.
Yes.
This is probably another one of the reasons that Diana is going to be very high on the meta table.
Yeah, and likewise, just what you said with the purple Diana, I'll put it up on screen and post. But the biggest thing with that is being able to play that extra spell. You play a Stupefy +2, you play Frigid Touch +2, whatever you want to play. Let's just keep adding a lot of might on top of that. Oh, by the way, let's ride the wind and move in.
Yeah, you can with Vex move in, play Moonfall for 2, bring them into the combat, shrink them, and then it's like, okay, you're now being taxed on all your spells because we're in combat. Oh my god, Moonfall is so good.
So this is going to be probably one of the chase cards of the set. The purple Diana, I think, is also going to be very meta relevant, especially just with how spell heavy these meta, especially within these colors, are. If you're running purple, you might be now running purple Diana. We also have some crazy combinations here where this would also go incredibly well into potentially running the blue Jhin to be able to get one out.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily be too hard to be able to pull that off. But even still, Diana's going to be a force to reckon with, and again, is probably going to be that top deck of the set.
Yeah, I'm 100% playing Jhin in this deck because you've got access to things like Singularity, which is going to trigger it. We can play our repeat spells. We get a bunch of reaction cards that we can spend, which we get extra energy for to play. Like, you're definitely playing Jhin in here. Diana Lunari, this champion unit. This might be our chosen champion, as it has 0 power cost. It's good, a very good early turn play, and if we're going second, we can just slap this down immediately, move it in, use our legend to get the predict off, and then we get to basically draw a card. It might be a toss-up because the purple Diana having ambush means you can play it from the champ zone directly into a battlefield that you've got units at, but I can see Diana Lunari being the chosen champion for this deck and then playing multiple copies of the purple one in here.
Well, and I think also this deck would be just such a powerful combination with Ravenbloom Conservatory, where when you are defending, you're like, oh, by the way, is this a spell? Yeah? Okay, cool. Now my legend ability can tap 1 and potentially have me play it out the same turn that I draw in this showdown kind of thing. So there's just a lot of insanity that we can see with this deck, and this is one that I am probably the most hyped for.
Yeah, this is already shaping up to be potentially the legend of the set, and this color combination does have a very good game into Draven as well, and Moonfall also gives you some ways to play around the opponent's miracle setup, and we also get to play Bellows Breath in this color, right? So we can drag them to a battlefield, shrink them all, then Bellows Breath in that same combat, and start nuking a whole bunch of stuff. So we've already got all the stuff Elans was doing. You're going to be able to do more, just almost as well, even more efficiently in Diana.
Yep, and so just insane,
So good.
just insane.
So good.
Also, one that I was maybe not necessarily like. I thought, this isn't just going to necessarily be there for me. But then when we started seeing the support that LeBlanc was getting, this is when I was starting to get excited and thinking this could be a very viable deck. Now, of course, again, we don't necessarily love these color combinations. They've still had some good showings, but LeBlanc is where this could really start to work because it says that when you conquer or hold, you may discard 1 and exhaust me to play a readied reflection unit token there. It becomes a copy of another unit there. Give it temporary.
Yeah, this is the reason that you can't find any baited hooks online and they've all been bought out is because you can sack your tokens off. This is really, really strong, especially with things like Death Knell effects, like the Rift Herald that just got revealed. It's going to be a case of like, cool, I play it. When it dies, I just get to play a unit from my hand. And that because the temporary trigger just makes you sacrifice it. It gives you a great way of defending points as well. You can basically discard the worst card in your hand to get some holds. You don't get the on-play effects by making the reflections, but this is just all around a very, very strong legend ability. And I can definitely see this being the first, maybe, it's going to be like the first non-prison deck to be in this color combination.
Yeah, and I really just like the potential ideas that are there here at this point. And then they, of course, gave us some really good support on top of that, to where like we have LeBlanc everywhere at once, gonna have backline, so it's assigned combat damage last. Again, no power cost. It's a 4 for 4. Awesome to be able to see that. And then on top of that, your temporary effects at my battlefield don't trigger. That's powerful.
Yeah, this is like what I was saying, that we could be playing this in Lillia as well, because we're making sprites and stuff, and then they just get to stick around. But I imagine this is probably going to be one of the game mats for one of the events, because, well, you can see where they've gone with the artwork and how this is... People are going to want copies of this card, and they're not going to want to tell you why. And we're not going to ask. That's just what's going to happen. But backline is an excellent keyword. Basically, having our legend ability be able to make copies that don't disappear is really, really good for holding, if we want to go for a bit of a hold play, even though holding is quite difficult. I do really like this. I think this is very, very good. And it has 0 power cost, right?
Yeah.
So we can just get to play as our chosen champion and not worry about deramping ourselves just to take some board presence.
Yeah. Well, and then even on top of that, we have Mirror Image, which is going to be 3 and 2 power. Really good right there in and of itself. But then on top of that, you get to choose a unit. Doesn't matter what unit, you get to choose a unit and play a ready reflection unit token to your base. It becomes a copy of that unit, give it temporary. So if your opponent happens to have a, mind splitter into a battlefield that you just don't know how you're going to be able to get around, oh, here's Mirror Image, and we can trade. And that can be something to really set back an opponent a great deal in this case.
Oh, yeah, like, I really like Mirror Image, and contrary to how a lot of people interpreted the Riot Unleashed video, you cannot choose your opponent's Baron Nashor.
Yep.
But what you can do with this is, for example, choose your opponent's Forerunner, which they almost always just leave sat on a battlefield, make a token of it, ram their Forerunner, and you get the tokens as well. So you don't really lose card advantage by playing into it for that. And this is... Mirror Image is a very good signature spell. Very expensive though, 3 and 2 power. You're kind of you're saving this for a very big play at some stage of the game, but it's generally an excellent signature spell. Like it also can't be defied, which is because of the power cost. But
now
really, really good card.
You do have the danger of choosing an enemy unit if you do go that route, but if you're able to time it right, you can read the field pretty well on whether or not they have a response to that. But then even with all that, you go and even attack in with your unit that you've copied, and then you can even still stupefy. You have the access of blue spells on top of that. 3 and 2 power. Yes, that is a big power cost, but you still have a lot of runes at this point of the game when you're probably going to be playing it that is able to still make a really big impact. And then not only that, if you do have the LeBlanc that you're able to utilize, I mean, for 8 essentially, you could make a mirror image, charge in, stupefy, play LeBlanc, and you keep the copy of the token. And so that's not much to ask, and can make a very big difference here.
Because of our legend ability, I was just thinking about how we offset the power costs in this, but we can be making copies of Honest Broker, and then every time the temporary kills our Honest Broker, we're getting gold off of it. Or our Soaring Scout, we could just make copies of... I mean, discarding a card for a rune is probably pretty terrible value, but
yeah,
we do have options in order to actually get gold and stuff, which will help us pay some of these power costs, because these colors are generally very greedy on power costs.
Yeah.
But Mirror Image, yeah, that's insane. And the unit comes in ready as well, so you can just have a situation where it's like, oh, cool, I top deck this. You've got a big unit. I can just play in your base. I'll play this, run over the other battlefield, and just win the game. Because you'll get to move before your unit before they do theirs in most cases.
Yeah. And so we'll see what's able to be done here. We also luckily do have a little bit more card draw that was revealed in this set that's specifically blue. That can be a big help there on trying to mitigate the cost. I think that's going to be probably one of the biggest setbacks, is that you do have to discard a card outside of at least the signature spell. So this can be something to still be very helpful, but if you're not able to maintain the card draw, you might be setting yourself a little bit back more than what you would like, but still... LeBlanc, I'm curious about.
Yeah, and the other card I guess that you could be playing in LeBlanc would be where you're making big tokens is Sacrifice, which is kill a mighty unit, draw 2 cards, and channel a rune. So we can kill our temporary tokens in... It's a reaction. So when our temporary trigger goes on the stack, saying, okay, I'm going to kill myself, you go, actually, I'm going to sacrifice it, draw 2, and channel a rune for 1.
And I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm going to lose it anyway.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it was going to die, and I've basically spent 1 to draw 2, which is just such a ridiculously good rate.
No, definitely. I absolutely love a lot of the versatility there. I think Sacrifice is going to be a more meta card than what we are initially thinking, just mainly due to the fact that that is something that Yellow just needs to utilize so much more, and LeBlanc is probably going to be the one that capitalizes on it the best. So.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to be a very popular I'm chasing the medal card for a future regional.
Yeah, well, even on top of that, it can probably really surprise some people with the power there too. I still don't know where this is going to fit in the meta. It's up in the air, but this is one that could really surprise the meta here. So.
Yeah, no, I would feel very confident trying to build this as a competitive deck versus Renata or Lux initially.
Yeah,
like this one feels a lot stronger from the initial reveals.
Yeah, definitely. And so with that being said, we are going to be going over to Kha'Zix. This is interesting. Again, another legend that is going to be dealing with XP, where you get to spend 1 XP and buff a unit, or spend 2 XP and move an exhausted friendly unit from a battlefield to its base. And this is something that you really like as a Lucian player, I can imagine.
I actually, this is the one that has my attention the most, and I love this. Versus the other, where you've got Master Yi who wants to just hoard all of the experience, just running around the jungle doing all the stuff. This legend encourages you to spend all of that. And I think Kha'Zix has a lot of potential. As we get the Draven effect when you win a combat gaining the XP, so we could just use things like Fight or Flight to cheat those combats. We're also in a color that gets to play Punch First, which makes combats already pretty scary for your opponent. 1 EXP buff a unit. Okay, cool. No energy cost. That means it's better than Master Yi. 2 EXP and tap it to move an exhausted friendly unit from a battlefield to its base. Getting a retreat means that we get to play around things like Draven, where we don't want to be at battlefields. And this gives us mobility as well. Now, we can't, for example, move a ready unit back to the base. So we can't move in with Lucian, ready Lucian, and then move him back with this blast ability. Granted, we can just use our standard move, but that kind of stops you being able to use Lucian Merciless to take both battlefields. And one of the coolest things with mobility is that Bone Shiver is such an insane gear, and I think it's being largely slept on by most people. And anytime you get mobility with Bone Shiver, you start to get the rune advantage very quickly, and you can then start aggressively spending your power to take advantage of the fact that your opponent is technically playing behind curve if they don't also spend power. I really like Kha'Zix, especially in this color combination where we have a lot of combat tricks. We've got access to ganking, which is a very powerful mechanic. All in all, I think Kha'Zix has real potential.
Yeah, and again, we have even a 2-drop unit that is able to, when it enters play, generate a XP. So it's like, okay, cool. Right off the bat, if we even want to just buff him up, cool. Or if we want to save it and maybe generate another XP in some way, shape, or form, all right, let's go ahead and utilize that. So even early in game, you could start making an impact. We even have gear that is able to make XP and things like that. And so I think that Kha'Zix is going to be one that is able to be utilized incredibly well.
We get to play Wallop. We get to play Wallop with this, and Wallop just spend the buff that we spent 1 EXP on to get a free ready. Like, First Mate is such a ridiculous card. We had to play First Mate in this as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we're going to be playing Lucian Merciless with all the best gear in the game. And we get to play Wallop. Okay. I like it. We can also do this with Set Brawler if we want to, which is just like we can put the buff back on him and we can retreat him back to base after he's gone in and broke the bunker. Like, Kha'Zix has a lot of potential.
Well, and one thing that I really like too, there's a orange unit that when it moves, you make XP. Well,
oh, that card is like an absolute highlight for the reason why Kha'Zix was interesting. It's Nalia, I believe its name is?
Yes, that's correct. And the reason why I like that, it's like, well, we have Ride the Wind, we have Fighter Flights, and, you know, if that's going to be giving us a lot of stuff, we also have the spending of 2 XP to where it's like, if you just really want to protect her for another day, awesome, let's spend the 2 XP, move her back. Now that ability only costs 1 XP. So I'm really excited with that unit.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, it's like if you win the combat, she's moved, you've won the combat, you've gained 2 EXP, and then you can just retreat her. Or if you've got the wallop, you can then just gank because she has ganking, and then you gain EXP, you win that combat, you gain another EXP. It feels like Nalia is going to be very, very important for this.
Yep. On top of that, attaching Hunter's Machete to it as well, to where
Hunter's
when you
Machete is
conquer or
excellent.
hold, you gain an additional XP. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. We get to play it with Lucian. So Lucian Merciless can go in and out, so we can keep getting EXP off of that. It doesn't have a power cost to play. It doesn't have additional energy costs to equip because most of the free cost gear in the first set had the in the color combination for Lucian had like the extra energy, Skyfall or Bone Shiver. And +2 is very good, very easy to equip, and we got quite a few good weapon masters available to us. Hunter's Machete, good stats, and EXP, which our legend can then spend. We always have access to our EXP dump if we need to, which makes it a really good card for this deck.
Well, and I like this too because I feel like it goes the direction that Misfortune was supposed to go in. That, you know, we had a really cool purple and orange, and I mean, yes, we have Sivir that is able to utilize a lot, but Sivir's a specific miracle build. But in this case, I feel like that because of the deck tech that we have here, that miracle would almost be a little bit detrimental to this type of deck. And so now that we're able to maybe utilize a lot of our units, our equipment, our spells and things like that, that you're able to really build the bread and butter that Misfortune was supposed to be.
Agreed. I think this is kind of... This is... Actually, I really love that. I think this is literally everything that Misfortune wanted to be in set 1, where we've got access to the best gear and we've got access to the best mobility and the best displacement. And that's kind of where we're going to be building our Kha'Zix deck, which is like, okay, I need to generate EXP and I need to take a ton of advantage of the fact that my colors are very good in combat, and my legend is then saying every time I win combat, even a fake win with fight or flight, means that I'm getting EXP. Even if they fail their attack, you get EXP, which keeps then feeding your other cards.
Yep.
So this is, I think, a high potential legend.
No, I completely agree. Kha'Zix, that is gonna be one that I am definitely going to be playtesting. I think it could just have so much versatility and fun there to really mess with your opponents in the best way possible. So we'll see. But yeah, this is going to be so exciting. And with that, our last legend, probably one of the most exciting reveals of the set.
We didn't talk about the chosen champion.
Oh.
Evolving Hunter.
Oh, gosh, yes. Duh. Let's go back for a second. Rewind that. Evolving Hunter.
Pretend you didn't see the poppy already,
yes.
Guys. Just pretend you didn't see that.
Kha'Zix Evolving Hunter. Absolutely love what this card is able to do. A 5 and a power, so it finally is a legend or a champion that has a power for 5 might. It has Hunt, and then when I attack, you may spend 3 XP to deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit here. So almost a Yone type ability, but it doesn't have to be an open battlefield. It can go into one already.
Yeah, I'm torn on this card. I think the power cost kind of kills it because it dies to Falling Star, dies to Singularity, and we're spending quite a lot on something that inherently doesn't have any mobility. Now, we're spending the EXP to trigger this effect, so it means that we're less likely to have the EXP to pull it back with our Kha'Zix Legend. But being able to shoot stuff for free when attacking, that proved very, very powerful on Yasuo. But like ultimately this one is a little bit disappointing. I think it's overcosted for what it does. But then if you win the combat with this, you get the Hunt trigger, you get your Legend trigger, so it gives you 2 XP back immediately. And if we're attacking with the machete, we can basically be fueling it entirely. It'll become self-sufficient, and it's nuking stuff for 7. It's just, yeah, I think that units that cost 4, 5, and 6, especially if they have a power cost that don't exceed 7 might, have a real hard time having fun in this game. And that's just a
Yeah.
sad truth.
Yeah, and I agree. And I feel like if you get Kha'Zix to be able to survive for a turn, you are to the moon. You are with Diana. You know, but at the same time, the hard part with that is, yeah, then you can go in and it would be so amazing. You add even like a punch first, go up to 10, move into a battlefield, and then be able to deal 10 damage to a unit. Then you're able to finish out the combat. You're probably going to win that battlefield. So there could be some good versatility. We also have stuff like Ride the Wind that can get Kha'Zix to be utilized a little bit earlier, but that is going to be 7 and 2 power, which can be a bit high of a cost, but still at least we have some options.
Yeah, we've also got access to Confront in this color combination, which can let us get in very, very quickly, and then we can retreat it using our legend, assuming we've been saving up the XP. It's got potential. And again, as we can take it as our chosen, I wouldn't be playing multiple copies of this in my main deck. At the moment, I don't think it's good enough for that, and I think it's a bit iffy as a chosen champion, but it can take over a game, just like the original Green Yasuo could. So it's okay. I think it's okay, but I don't like it.
Yeah, and we still have the other color that we're waiting on to see what it's able to do. It might very well be
Purple.
the one that you want for the chosen champion and things like that. So we'll see, but still, this is a deck I definitely want to explore.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this. I was for Sivir as well, and a lot of people didn't like that, and it turned out that Sivir was pretty good.
Yep, Sivir just falls to Kai'Sa way too easily. Yeah. That's the hardest part. I love that deck. It's one of my favorite decks to play. But speaking of decks I will love to play, now we get to go to Poppy and talking about, I mean, this is probably one of the biggest surprises. A lot of people were theorizing. Riot did a good job of waiting until it was the last legend to be revealed. And I gotta say, I love the color combination here. It's orange-yellow. And on top of that, when I hold, gain 1 XP, spend 3 XP, draw 1. That is something that orange and yellow both struggle with is card draw. So the fact that you can spend 3 XP and draw 1, okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I really like Poppy. I need to see more ways of generating EXP, as this legend doesn't give you EXP. Oh, you do. You get it on hold, but holding, as we've discussed, is already a bit of an uphill struggle. But we've got the Hunter's Machete. We've also got access to Lucian. We've got access to BF Sword in these colors. So getting there, or at least getting onto points, is something that we're very, very capable of. It's just a case of like getting those holds and like how can we get EXP outside of holding, if possible. But yeah, card draw has historically been a bit of a problem in these colors. We do have access to sacrifice, but I think that's going to be a little bit like, I don't really want to give up mighty units that I haven't already gained value out of.
Yeah.
But draw card, tap draw card, very, very strong. So we can never sort of sleep on that.
Yeah, and I think that we are still going to be going for the hopeful play of Unsung Hero, BF Sword into Sacrifice. Let's draw 4, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. We also get to play Bone Shiver. Like, anytime I can put Bone Shiver in a deck, I'm immediately interested. Bone Shiver Lucian. And it's like, okay, cool, we've got access to ramp. And then we get things like Hardened Dragons and stuff like that if we want to. We can play Baited Hook in the strat as well.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the big thing, though, is trying to find where Poppy can shine. And that's going to be the big thing. But at least we finally have the card draw to where if we are able to, manage even just getting 1 or 2 extra cards with this color combination, it is so incredibly powerful. And, it's kind of the same thing with Set in Set 1, where he was a very powerful deck, but he fell short because of the card draw. Well, now Poppy can do the same thing, and maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah, and we get to do all of the same tricks that Fiora was doing with things like our Unsung Hero, like you said, and getting our card draw off of Hidden Blade. We can play the Scissors if we want to, the Sacred Shears, although that's very, very power intensive. Getting access to card draw in these colors where I then don't have to play the really, really bad orange draw spells is kind of exciting. And I also think that we're going to talk about in a second that Poppy's signature spell is absolutely brilliant.
No, it's oh gosh, I gotta say it's probably Diana's and then Poppy's signature spells that are my two favorite of this set. Love this. Now it is 2 and 2 power. I do really like also how they're doing 2 power for each of the signature spells. I think that is a very smart move. But it is an action speed, and then you get to choose an enemy unit at a battlefield. Its owner places it at the top or bottom of their main deck.
Oh, it's better than Rebuke, and we don't. It's not in purple.
Yeah,
It's so good. Even if your opponent puts that unit on top of your deck and you go, oh cool, they just draw it and play next time, you've robbed them of a draw, and you've probably swung that combat. It's action speed, so if we move in, Draven pushes us out, and then we respond and then put their Draven back on top of their deck. Like, are they going to take a turn to play that unit back to base and then pass to you? They don't get the card draw, so they then start falling behind. And Draven, if it doesn't win combats, they don't traditionally play card draw. Unless you're in a Miracle version, which is a completely different kettle of fish. This is a really, really good action. And with 2 power, we've got access to Punch First, we've got access to a whole bunch of like generally good kill spells, and then we've got this, which can be very good into things like, oh, you've played a Ferris Forerunner, I'm just going to put that, do you want to put that back on top of your deck and draw a 6 might unit with 1 power that doesn't do anything for you unless you put it directly onto a battlefield? Feels kind of sucky. You're probably going to bottom it, which means I spent 2 and got rid of your unit and you didn't get tokens for it.
Yeah, and I really like that because that alone also even gives you such an advantage on like hand knowledge too, where it's like, oh, you really wanted to keep this unit. What does that mean? You know, what could you potentially have at this point? Or even so, I put it on the bottom. Cool. Now I never have to deal with one of these copies ever again. I'm okay with that, you know. And so this can be stuff that really can slow down and even maybe shut down your opponent at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant card, and we've got an engine that actually draws it from our own legend ability. So yeah, I think Keeper's Verdict is, if you were looking to play something maybe off meta, which Poppy probably falls into compared to Diana or LeBlanc or potentially even Kha'Zix. I have high hopes for Kha'Zix. I don't know necessarily, it'll depend in testing. But this is the card that is going to be a chase signature, I believe.
No, I completely agree. And Poppy already has the popularity there where a lot of people, just because this legend has been revealed, hey, now I'm hopping on. Okay, cool. Well, let's go. And so I think this is going to be a day one deck for sure that also could be making some really big impacts in this meta.
Yeah, absolutely. You've just gained a really excellent spell. So now we've got access to these colors to challenge. We've got access to Strike Down, which is not very popular, but is playable. We've got Keeper's Verdict as additional removal. We've got Punch First. We've got Cold a Week if we want to go more on token strat. We've got Hidden Blade. We've got Vengeance. Vengeance is a very, very good card that is very expensive, but is kind of expensive because it's worth it. And a whole suite of other really, really cool stuff. And it's a great color combination, and this is an excellent card. I'm trying to decide. I think Parry is better, but this is excellent as a card. It is one of the reasons why Poppy would be pretty good to consider over Fiora.
Yep, and now we are still waiting for the champion reveal. That's going to be the biggest thing. We did have a leak, a fake card that unfortunately was released. That it wasn't real, and the guy who did it put some clues to show you that it wasn't real, but a lot of people saw the card, it looked legit, they started sharing it. So unfortunately, that is not our champion. We'll see if that gets revealed here within the coming day or two. I don't see why it wouldn't, but man, if we get some good Poppy champion going, then this is going to be that next level deck.
It needs to have no power cost and give you EXP, but Master Yi Tempered, which is the orange Master Yi, literally just a second got revealed.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's a 4 energy, 0 power cost, 4 might unit that has Hunt 2. So whenever I conquer a hold, gain 2 XP. Level 6, I have Deflect and Ganking. When you have 6 plus EXP, your opponents plus pay 1 power to choose me with a spell or ability, and I can move from battlefield to battlefield. Coupled with the fact that it's 6 EXP, your Legend's giving it +1. It's a 5 might ganking deflect unit for 4 that you can play out of your champion zone. Makes it an excellent turn 2 play, and also goes into Poppy, as it has Hunt 2. So it can start getting us towards card draw. Although if we're spending our EXP, we're never getting to level 6. But
yeah.
that's a solid chosen champion right there.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you on that. And I'm going to be curious to see what else is going to be brought to us here. They've also, I got to say, have been doing an absolute banger of a job of the alt arts for the legends this go around, where a lot of times with Spirit Forge, we saw them and we're like, they look okay. But then you see them in person, and you're like, okay, that looks really good. But even on this one, the artwork now is showing a lot that the legends have too, and I think the overnumbered are going to just be very popular this set.
And they're getting better and better. And I think that's partially coming down to Riot's general business strategy. So they're looking for a big hit very quickly. So they're building slowly, and then they're trying to kill projects that don't show promise as fast as possible. And Riftbound came out and has done extraordinarily well. So I suspect a bunch of the art teams and a lot of the resources are being funneled towards this, as it's just been so incredibly successful and is selling out. It's like, oh wow, we've now got a channel into the physical space much easier than we had before. Game's doing really well. We need to get more resources on this, which means I can only imagine that our overnumbered cards are going to start looking absolutely fantastic
Mm-hmm.
as we proceed through future sets.
Yeah, and it feels like that we keep ramping up a little bit. I mean, what we had 40 for Spirit Forge. Now we're in the talks of having near 50 in this case, and so it almost feels like, yeah, I love it because we have both aspects of the collector's edition of this game as well as now the playing edition, and I really like that we have that dynamic in this game.
Yeah, and what's really cool for that is because we've not gone for a first edition on cards, which was actually one of the big problems with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that when you do an unlimited print, which means anything after the initial print, it doesn't have the first edition stamp. And because the way collectors in that game perceive the first edition stamp, it means that the unlimited print would always get a much lower reorder from the stores, and then players would obviously that would affect their secondary market valuations. So by not having first edition on any of these cards, they retain their value on the reprints, and by having more of these overnumbered cards, it gives you a lot more reasons to go back and rebuy sets that you may have already got all of the core stuff out, because you're like, hey, there's still value in here because there's so many overnumbereds that are very, very popular.
Yeah.
So I don't mind having, like, you can put 100 overnumbered cards in there. I won't collect that. When I was playing in Vegas, my deck got stuck in customs, and I was basically, my friends lent me all of this mishmash of cards. I had some Chinese cards, random Chinese runes. It was all over the place. And I'm just like, I just want to play the game. So these overnumbered cards for me, these are trade bait to allow me to get the cards that I need to play. But for other people, those are some of the highlights of playing in the hobby, is just being able to rarity max out their deck or pimp their deck out with lots of bling. I don't know if that's what the young kids are saying these days. I'm showing my age a little bit here. But I am a fan. Put as many overnumbered in as you want, as long as you don't change the rarity model that currently exists, and I think that's fine.
Yep, no, I completely agree. And as long as we're able to, and they're doing a better job each and every set about the allocation as well, because again, especially as we start getting into the collectors wanting to come into the game and get the League of Legends domain and, start to maybe Pokemon it a little bit. Luckily that hasn't been too heavy just yet. Outside of Origins, they need to do another reprint of that more than anything. But again, if they can keep getting these ramping up of allocations, then I think this game is going to be in a great state.
Yeah, and they had the first two sets. The stores had to place their orders before the game came out
Yeah.
to get in on the first two sets. So a lot of people be conservative because, let's be honest, how many card games have come out and died immediately? And then you look at, like, Rune Terror, and you go, okay, is a Riot Games TCG in a physical space actually going to take off? And the answer was a very reassounding yes. So set 3 is the first time that people had experience of being able to see how the game is doing before they place their order. So the allocation for this should be much better. And I imagine this gives them a lot more sway with the manufacturers when they want to say, hey, we need a reprint slot. And they're like, oh, what's your reprint? And it's going to be significantly higher numbers.
Yeah, and one thing that I do want to talk to you about real quick before we call it quits here is, how are you feeling though about the complexity of this game? Because now we are 3 sets in and we have so many different mechanics and dynamics. Now we got to start tracking XP on a specific card or place on top of tracking points, battlefield triggers, main triggers up, all that stuff. And so how are we feeling so far now 3 sets in with the complexity of the game?
Uh, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. I think in terms of the actual rules of the game, Riftbound is very, very well made, and I think it's quite easy to understand how to play the game, and I think it's quite challenging to master the game. I think their card text has been too ambiguous, and that's caused a problem where rulings have sort of changed, where we had like reflective triggers and decided actually this is overpowered, we're going to get rid of this. We found out that Aphelios, you could flicker the gear, so you could basically attach the gear that was already attached to him in order to trigger his ability, and that obviously massively changed the evaluation of how Jax worked. So that side of things has not been great, but I think in terms of like the cards and how they work hasn't been too bad. I think the real depth for this game comes down to how you play, movement, and resource management. That is such a big focus compared to other TCGs. Like if you spend a power at the wrong step, you might have lost the game like 3 turns before it actually happens to you. And that's where the complexity of the game is, and that's hidden from most of the players that come on board until they actually start getting good at the game, which is excellent game design.
Yeah, no, and I really do like that. The one thing that I am maybe a little bit worried about is with like new people trying to come into the game, and it's like, cool, well, we have a pretty diverse meta where people are still going to be, playing Aurelia probably in set 5. And it's like, well, if we're getting 9 legends, 12 legends, so on and so forth, and new mechanics, I do think, of course, new mechanics are going to die down. Where let's get up to a certain point where we have a lot of really good mechanics. And then every couple of sets after that, now we'll start releasing a new mechanic, kind of like what Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Does now. And we'll see. But that's going to be maybe the hard part here for new players.
Yeah, the onboarding is going to be tricky because even getting hold of older card inventory is very, very hard. And there's quite a few staples that you're going to find in set 1. We still don't have a flash reprint, which is kind of some of the stuff, but this game is going to feature rotation. So eventually cards will rotate out, and they've been very upfront with that. And that'll be a great onboarding spot. And I think the ways that they kind of have, where Riot's done a real justice to players that want to come into the game at any point, is that their starter decks are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Fiora starter deck was like, hey, you get the signature spell in here. And it's like, that's interesting. And Fiora, the deck was actually playable out of the box. So if they keep doing that where your starter decks are actually viable, that's going to help new players get in. But I do admit that when you're trying to explain to somebody how the Skyfall and Trinity Force combo works, and it's like 5 sets in, and they're like, what is this? No, that doesn't work that way. And you're like, yeah, no, I'm scoring 4 points this turn. That's going to be some of the challenges. But I do think that Riot's doing a lot of the right things in order to make it viable for new people to get in, other than the supply shock. But that was just, we hit it out of the park in the beginning. And I will have less patience for that from set 3 onwards in terms of like supply shocks. But complexity wise with the mechanics in that, yes, I can understand. It's difficult for me because I worked in the TCG industry for so long, and I've played card games my whole life. So it's for me, it's like all of this feels, they're not Yu-Gi-Oh level power graphs, which is what I used to work on. So to me, this is like, oh, this is incredibly simple. But I do get from other people like they might struggle a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And so we'll see, though. There's a lot of exciting stuff to come in this game. I'm hoping that now, especially once we get to set 4 and beyond, that there might be a lot less power creep now that we're at a good level, a good speed and dynamic of the entire game. We'll see how that ends up going. But all in all, again, just like what you're saying, I am loving the state of the game. It seems like they are designing things. They are taking risks. I do appreciate that as well. And we'll see where this ends up taking us. But we're at the very beginning of Riftbound, and that's going to be a place where mistakes are made, but also we get to celebrate the wins.
And absolutely, it's important. You're allowed to feel frustrated, but if there's things that you don't like in the format. But what I will say from a game design perspective is that a negative emotion when playing a game isn't always a bad thing. It is evidence that your players care enough to say something. If they didn't care, they would just stop playing. You would never see them again. Their locals would die out. Now, that's not a freedom pass to print more legends like Draven or keep giving purple all the ridiculous stuff. But at the same time, if you are frustrated by Draven, it's because you probably enjoy the game and Draven is somehow getting in the way of that, which means you care. And as long as they keep designing with that in mind and capturing the fantasies of playing these champions, I can see the game doing really, really well in the long run.
Yeah, so that's going to be something to definitely look forward to, and we have a lot of hype on what is to come, especially with the legends that are going to be added to the game, the champions that you're going to be able to see. There is a lot out there for us to be able to see, and I'm very excited to be able to be a part of that. But guys, thank you so much for being here and a part of that. I am here with Matt. We have gone over all of the legends of Unleashed. We made it. We're still moderately sane here. And it's been a really fun ride with you, Matt.
Yeah, no, I've really appreciated it. And we can give everybody back 3 minutes of their time for this meeting because we got in under 2 hours on this whole legend review. I hate that expression, by the way. It's one of the reasons I hate it in corporate. It's like, oh, let me give you your time back. It's like, I'm just going to waste it. You know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an absolute blast. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of the reveals and hopping on with you again to do some more reviews. It's been really, really cool.
Yeah, no, that's been an absolute blast. And thank you guys so much for being here and a part of this video. We are going to be uploading it to YouTube specifically, of course, with some card edits so that you guys can see it for yourself. But thank you so much. Couldn't do this without you guys. Matt, couldn't do it without you. It would be very boring for me to talk to you guys for 2 hours out my own butt. Not fun. But thank you guys so much. And until next time, have a good one.
Have a good one, guys. Cheers.